All right, welcome everyone to today's deep dive into, well, a kingdom of contradictions in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I mean, more specifically, I think, focusing on the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
MBS.
MBS, exactly, you know, as he's more commonly known. And his pretty ambitious plans for the future of the kingdom.
Right.
And we've got a great excerpt here from Melise Ruthven's book, Unholy Kingdom, to kind of guide us through all this.
Yeah, excellent source.
Yeah, so hopefully we can, figure this out. Is he a reformer, or is he really?
Yeah, is he a modernizer? Is he a reformer? Is he an autocrat? I mean, it's the $1 million question.
It really is, right?
Yeah.
And especially someone who's, kind of come to power in this way that he has.
I mean,
It's fascinating.
It's a really fascinating puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Ruthven kind of paints this picture of MBS that's sort of both captivating and controversial.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
For sure.
He's taking the reins from his father, King Salman.
Right.
But there's also this taste for extravagance.
Yeah, I was just going to say, owning the Da Vinci Salvator Mundi.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
And a 400-foot super yacht.
Right.
Like, that's...
Doesn't exactly scream like, austerity.
Right, like reformer, exactly.
Yeah.
Does that clash with that image, do you think?
I mean, it certainly raises questions.
Yeah.
Some might even say it's a little hypocritical.
Right.
Given his push for this, diversification of the economy.
Right.
Away from oil dependency.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like he's trying to project this image of power and wealth.
Right.
It's completely at odds with this message of austerity that he's promoting at home.
Right. Yeah. And then there's, even his reported behavior, like keeping high-ranking officials waiting for hours.
Yeah.
I mean, even, someone like the U.S. Secretary of State, like, what's the story there?
Like, is it a power play?
Yeah.
Is it just a plain disregard for anyone else's time?
Yeah. Is he just arrogant?
I actually think it's more strategic than that.
Okay.
I think it's a way for him to assert dominance.
Okay.
It's a way of sending a message.
Okay.
That he's in control.
Right.
Even if it comes across as disrespectful.
Right. Right. And especially...
And you have to remember, given that he wasn't the designated heir.
Yeah, he kind of had to.
He had to outmaneuver his rivals.
Yeah.
To get to where he is.
Yeah.
I mean, and Ruthven actually compares his rise to power to almost a Corleone-style progression.
Okay, so...
Which is a kind of chilling analogy when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're seeing signs of ruthlessness. I mean, and of course,
we
can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah, that was...
that sent shockwaves around the world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think cast a very dark shadow over MBS's regime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a stark reminder of the lengths he's willing to go to to silence dissent and maintain his grip on power.
And yet, despite all this,
there's
the scramble for Arabia, as Ruthven puts it.
As he puts it.
With everyone from consulting firms to athletes to architects.
Yeah, they all want a piece of it.
Like chomping at the bit to get a piece of the action. Yeah. So it's almost like they're willing to overlook these human rights concerns just for...
Yeah, it's a really complicated situation for sure.
Yeah. I
think it really speaks to the allure of the potential of Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, MBS is dangling this vision of a modern, diversified economy.
Yeah.
And people are lining up.
Yeah. It's
like to be part of it.
The gold rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the question remains, can you really separate the economic engagement from the regime's human rights record? I mean, it's a tough one. It's a real head scratcher.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's unpack this vision of his a bit more.
Yeah, let's dig into it.
This Vision 2030 plan.
Yeah.
He wants to diversify the economy away from oil, create these new industries.
Right.
Things like electric vehicles, tourism.
Yeah.
And then you've got these grand futuristic projects like NEOM.
Well, NEOM.
This proposed city of the future, like in the desert.
In the desert.
It's crazy.
And we can't forget about Trojena.
Oh, yeah.
The mountain ski resort.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
In the middle of the desert.
Talk about ambitious. Yeah, I mean, are these just vanity projects?
Yeah, I mean, are they just these vanity projects, or is there any real substance to them?
It's hard to say at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
But they definitely capture the imagination.
Oh, they do. They capture the imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole social side of these reforms.
Social reforms, yeah.
You know, loosening the restrictions on women, allowing cinemas and concerts, like...
Yeah, I mean, things that...
unheard of.
Just a few years ago.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this seems genuinely...
on the surface, at least.
Yeah, like...
they seem genuinely progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, appealing.
Especially to the younger generation.
To younger generations, yeah.
But you have to ask, is this truly about social progress?
Yeah.
Or is it a calculated move?
Right.
To kind of bolster his own popularity and control?
Okay, so there's this interesting...
tension building here.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
He's promoting modernization and this more open society. Right. But at the same time, he's also consolidating power.
Yes.
And silencing dissent.
Absolutely. And to really get that, you have to kind of understand the historical context here.
Right.
You know, Saudi Arabia has always been so deeply intertwined with Wahhabism.
Right, yeah.
This really ultra-conservative branch of Islam.
Yeah, the partnership between the royals and the Wahhabi clerics has really been like a cornerstone of Saudi society for centuries.
It has been, yeah.
You know, the clerics provide the religious legitimacy.
Right.
And in return, the royals guarantee their autonomy.
Right, exactly.
To spread their interpretation.
Exactly.
So, I mean, so when MBS is pushing for quote-unquote moderate Islam, and curtailing the power of the religious police, it seems like a direct challenge to this historical power structure, to that historical power structure, absolutely.
But then at the same time, he's imprisoned hundreds of clerics who've dared to question his authority.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems like a contradiction.
I mean, it does seem like a contradiction, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're advocating for religious reform, but then you're silencing the people who disagree.
It's like, is he genuinely trying to reform religious discourse?
Right.
Or is this just another power grab disguised as reform?
Right. It's like, can he really reshape the religious landscape without alienating this core pillar of Saudi society?
Yeah, I mean, it's a gamble with huge potential consequence.
It makes you wonder, you know, what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What are the conversations happening in the palaces?
In the palaces, yeah.
But okay, so let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia's massive push into the world of sports.
Yes, let's talk about that.
I mean, they're investing heavily in everything from securing the 2034 World Cup to bankrolling the Livy Golf Tour.
Right.
It's fascinating.
I mean, it's really a fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah. I mean,
some people call it sports washing.
Right. Yeah.
Using sports to soften their image on the global stage.
Yeah.
And to kind of distract from human rights concerns.
Right. But do you think is it really just
I mean, is it just a PR stunt?
Yeah.
Like I mean, are there genuine...
Like, wouldn't hosting something like...
Yeah, like, wouldn't hosting a major sporting event like the World Cup bring genuine economic, social benefits?
I mean, of course, there are potential benefits.
Right.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah.
And it's a way to...
showcase the country.
Yeah.
To a global audience.
Right.
But I think it's a little naive to think that this is purely about... national pride or promoting sports.
Right. It's a calculated strategy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a calculated strategy to reshape global perceptions.
Yeah.
To attract investment.
So is it working?
That's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, are people really buying into this new, more open image of Saudi Arabia?
I mean, it's hard to say definitively.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Right.
It's really hard to say.
I mean, I think there's probably a generational divide.
Yeah, there's probably a generational divide.
You know, younger people are probably more receptive.
Yeah, I think younger people are probably more receptive to the
glitz and glam.
The glitz and glamour of these events.
Right.
Whereas, you know, older generations...
Yeah, older generations might be a little bit more skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be interesting how
this plays out, to see how it all plays out over time.
Okay, so zooming out a bit here.
Right.
I mean, Do you think all of this points to Saudi Arabia?
Does it point to them becoming
a dominant force?
In the region?
In the region, yeah.
I mean, MBS certainly has ambitions to be a major player on the world stage.
I mean, he's made some foreign policy moves.
Yeah, foreign policy moves.
I mean, intervening in the war in Yemen.
Right.
Forging those closer ties with China.
Right.
And even hinting at normalizing relations with Israel.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
To juggle.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving
I think it's a
moves?
I think it's a combination of things.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, the strategic weakening of Iran, their longtime rival,
creates an opportunity for Saudi Arabia to really kind of assert itself.
So it's like they're filling a power vacuum.
Yeah, in a way they are.
They're also
looking
to diversify.
Their alliances.
Yeah, right. Reduce dependence on the West.
Reduce their dependence on the West, hence the growing relationship with China.
Right. And normalizing relations with Israel, I mean,
that would be
huge.
A huge shift.
Huge shift in the geopolitical landscape.
I mean, it would
reshape
completely
the balance of power in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It would potentially pave the way for greater economic security cooperation in the region.
Yeah, but then it also carries risks.
It carries huge risks too.
Right.
Right.
Like alienating
allies.
Their Palestinian allies.
And potentially
destabilizing an already volatile region.
So it sounds like MBS is playing.
It does sound like
a high stakes game here.
Yeah, he's playing a high stakes game
with a lot of potential. Winners and losers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like
it really is. It's like watching a master chess player. Carefully calculating. Each move, anticipating his opponent's reactions, and always thinking several steps ahead.
So circling back to where we started, does all of this lead you to believe that MBS is genuinely a reformer, or is this just
a clever act? A clever act. I think that's.
It's a
really tough question.
Yes.
I think he's a very complex and ambitious figure who kind of defies easy categorization.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, he's pushing for modernization and social reforms that seem genuinely progressive.
Right.
But on the other hand, he's ruthlessly consolidating power and silencing dissent.
So it's a mix of light and shadow.
It's a real mix of light and shadow.
It really is. And so maybe it's not about labeling him as one thing or another.
Right. I don't think it is.
But recognizing that he's operating.
Recognizing that he's operating in this system. With its own set of constraints and opportunities.
He's playing the game.
He is playing the game.
But with very high stakes.
Very high stakes.
And the whole world is kind of watching closely, trying to figure out what his end game is.
Oh yeah, where is this all headed?
Right. But going back to Ruthven's book, one thing that really struck me was how he highlighted this tension between MBS's ambitions for a modern Saudi Arabia and these really deep-rooted traditions of the country.
Traditions, right.
Can he really reconcile those two?
$1 million question.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like he's trying to...
It's like he's trying to build a futuristic skyscraper.
Yeah.
On top of an ancient foundation.
Yeah. Can it hold?
Can it hold? I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's almost like we're witnessing this high-stakes social experiment.
Yeah, I like that.
Like unfold in real time.
It really is, yeah.
What are the implications for the Saudi people, though?
Right.
Like, are they
embracing these changes? Yes. Are there pockets of resistance that we're not really seeing?
Right. Is it just...
I think it's definitely a mixed bag.
Okay.
I mean, you definitely have a generation that is excited about the possibilities of a more open society.
Right.
Going to concerts, women driving, greater access to
technology and the world beyond their borders.
But at the same time,
you also have a segment of the population that's really deeply attached to those traditional values and wary of these rapid changes.
So how does he navigate that?
Yeah. I mean, can he bring everyone along on this journey?
Yeah. Is he going to alienate people?
Where will he alienate those who kind of feel left behind?
Right.
I mean, it's a really delicate balancing act.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he needs to maintain the support of that conservative establishment while appealing to the aspirations of the younger generation.
And if he
pushes too hard, too fast, he risks a backlash.
It makes you wonder what the future holds for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, will he succeed in transforming it into this global powerhouse?
Right.
Or will his ambitions ultimately unravel?
Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think, as we've discussed, he's a shrewd operator.
Yeah.
He's surrounded himself with savvy advisors. I mean, he's clearly playing the long game here.
Right.
But there are...
Right, there's so many
variables.
Variables at play.
Yeah.
I mean, global economics.
I mean, you've got global economics, you've got
regional rivalries,
internal social dynamics.
Right.
I mean, it's
and the world is changing so rapidly.
And the world is hard to predict.
It's changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
It's impossible to predict what the geopolitical landscape will look like in 5 years.
Yeah.
Let alone 10 or 20.
Right, exactly.
But I think one thing is for sure.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia under MBS will continue to be a major player on the world stage. So I think as we wrap up this deep dive into Saudi Arabia, I'm left with a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, I like it.
What's your take on MBS?
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, do you think
reformer?
He's a force for positive change?
Or dangerous autocrat?
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of future? Do you envision for this kingdom in the years to come?
It's a conversation worth continuing, that's for sure.
It really is. It's a fascinating situation and one that we'll all be watching, I think, very closely.
For sure.
So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me
on this journey. And
appreciate it.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Sounds good.